and no one can work underground. You can comment, you cannot comment, but this is what I'm putting to you as the instruction of accused number 2, is that if you have sicknesses or chronic illnesses, you cannot work because it's too hot underneath. Any person with medical defects cannot work there. So he denies having informed you that he had the medical.
Can I add? In regards to what you're saying, it's true. There's no denying in that. But also there is also a fact that most of the people that work underground, the studies that's been there, and also if you look up through the internet, you'll find it. Most people that work underground, most of them, they are always checked through for if they have any sort of defect or whatsoever. But did you realize that there's a fact that if a patient has a high blood pressure, what the mines people do is they send the patient to a doctor so that they can have that rectified and managed before they go back underground. It depends on the severity of the situation. So in the terms of, that's now what I was informed, and that's what it came from him. That's what he said. So meaning that yes, he could have had a mining incident. We don't know whether it's minor, whether it's major, and then after a while, and then the patient was fine, and then they went back. So those things are the things that any logistics from the mine that we know, because when I was working that side, we used to have clients that they would basically almost, when I interacting with my colleagues, that they would come, they need to be checked, they need a medical certificate to show that whatever they had, it's not serious, they can go back underground and then work.
Yes.
Wazi-ke ukuthi kwizimo ke ekusetshenzwa ngaphansi kwazo emayini ukuthi ke kuyashisa laphayana angeke umuntu asebenzeke enesimo esenhliziyo kungayiqiniso ke lokho okushoyo kodwa ke kuyenzeka ke futhi amahlandla amaningi futhi ke lokho ke seku boniwe ke noma ama study akhona ke ashoyo ukuthi abantu bayasebenza khona laphayana ezansi kuya ngokuthi isimo siyalawuleka noma ke sikanjani ke abanye bayeza bazobona udokotela umuntu azothi ke ngicela nje incwadi ke yokuthi nje babone ukuthi lapha manje isimo sami ke sesiyalawuleka ke ngingabuyela ngaphansi so kuya ngokuthi isimo leso sikanjani.
Yes. Let's get into the point where you say when my colleague was asking you about assault or if somebody alleges that he was choked. According to you, are you in a better position to see if somebody has been subjected or he was choked? Because I don't want to, sorry, let me just clarify this one. Unless the instruction is that the accused was not strangled. I want to make a distinction between the two. He was not strangled. According to his version, a plastic bag was put over his head when he was choked. A plastic bag was used. Will you able to see if a patient come to you that this person was choked?
In a normal state, any patient that was choken with a plastic bag, unless if the only person that can be able to say the patient was choking in a plastic bag, in medical terms, from what I know, the only evidence that can show that a person was choked in a plastic bag and then actually there is a sign is if a patient succumb to whatever the plastic bag was. If they was choked and they end up passing away, that's when only the autopsy from whoever's doing that, they'll be able to identify that. A choking of a plastic bag over the face, yes, ligature marks, if it was pulled hard here, there will be lines. Any plastic bag, if anyone, even right now, you take a bandage and you wrap it around your hand and you pull it quite very strong, it will leave a mark.
Uma ke ukuthi ke wafaka ke plastic ke lokho ke la ekungathola noma kubonwe khona ke ukuthi ke mase sithi ke umuntu ke mhlambe usiyashona ke ngenxa yalokho uma sekwenziwa yona ke i-postmortem kuzobonakala kodwa ke uma kuukuthi yona ke leyo plastic iboshiwe ke khona lana ke yasiyaqiniswa ke kunama mark ezowashiya ngisho nawe uma ungathatha ibandage khona manje uyibophe khona la kuwena ke kuzobonakala noma ke khona lokho okuzosala.
Before you continue, let me add, in that term means that even if there was a mark by a plastic bag, after 3 days later, when the patient came to me, that mark would have eventually been faded or have actually disappeared, because of the fact that these marks that we were talking about, they are not severe marks that could last for long. Plastic bag doesn't have enough power compared to a rope.
Futhi ke asithi ke manje lo muntu uziveke useze emuva kwamalanga amathathu ke lawo ma-marks lawo ke kusengenzeka ke ukuthi ke ase enganyamalala ke ngoba ke i-plastic yona ke ayifani ke ama-mark ayo angeke ahlale ke ngokufana nayo ke intambo.
Yeah, all right, no, that one is not his field. I'm sorry. All right. Before I just want to be straightforward. When you first saw accused number 2, Bongan Dance, he had no visible injuries. Did you see any visible injuries?
From my point of view,
Umbona kwami ke mina ke akukho kulimala okwakubonakala lokho okwakucaceleke engakubona kuyena.
And you did not ask him to take out his clothes?
no, I never did that.
Angizange ngimcele nokuthi ke akhumuleke owayegqokile.
And tell me the time in which they arrived. And what was the time accused number 2 was brought to you? What exactly time was it?
It was right precisely towards lunch. I think I remember it was towards maybe 1 o'clock. I think it was around 12.
Ngizothi ke ngaboma 12 ke kodwa nje ngaphambi kokuthi ke kushaye ihora ke lokuthi ke kube isidlo ke sasemini.
So that's when
Ufika
you commenced your examination. 12 towards 1 o'clock.
Leso sikhathi ke ngaqala ngaso ke ukuthi ke ngimhloleke ngimbheke.
In that documentation, it reflects 12:56. Is it that correct?
12:52.
12:52. Beg your pardon. So, what was the time you concluded your examination?
I would say maybe it's roughly maybe 30 or 45 minutes later, because I remember it extended to lunch, then we went to lunch.
Ngizothi ke kwathatha ke isikhathi ngama 30 minutes kuya ku 40 minutes ngoba ngiyazi ukuthi ke kwaze ngidlulela isikhathi sethu ke se-lunch sase sithatha ke i-lunch.
Could it be 1:30?
I wouldn't be precisely sure.
No, could it be? Plus or minus, or approximately?
Approximately maybe.
Ngasho ke ukuthi labo kuma 1:30.
The last question is, let me just confirm if. Okay, sure. Thank you, sir. You said you graduated in 2019, if I heard you correctly.
Yebo ifundo zami ngayiphothula ngo-2019.
So you conducted a community service.
Yes.
You started from 2020.
Umsebenzi wami ke usebenza emphakathini wona ngawuqala ngo-2020 lokho besithe yi-COMSEP.
Prior to the examination of accused number 2, you had 6 months doing a community service.
Yes.
Ngaphambi kokuthi ngisebenze ngaye noma ngihlangane naye ke umangalelo wesibili ke nganginesikhathi singange 6 months ngiwenza umsebenzi.
Were you working under supervision?
During my COMSEP.
Yes.
Once immediately we work under supervision within the 3 years of our studies, but once you actually take oath, you are considered to be independent to work in a format whereby you work alone, but you have a superior supervisor that only in instances whereby there are complications that you also don't understand, you refer to them, complications.
Uma sesiqala nje kuminyaka yethu yokuqala ke emithathu masiqala yila usebenza khona ke ubhekiwe noma ke kukhona ke umuntu okubhekile ke noma lokhu kuthoke i-supervisor ke kodwa ke uma usuqala ukuthatha isifungo noma usufunga ke yila ubonwa khona ke nanje komuntu oyimele kodwa ukhona ke ongaphezulu kwena ke uma kuukuthi kukhona ke okukudidayo bese kudlulisela kuloyo.
So you took an oath after 6 months?
No.
After you examined?
No.
Or before?
Take it before.
Sorry.
When you actually there are two different oaths that you take. You take an oath before you even start seeing patients when you're still in school, and there's another oath that you're taking to show that you are suitable and you have graduated and you have passed all the standard that the degree requires, and you are able to be on your own and you can supervise the person. Meaning, within a year, I can be able to even supervise a person who's like a year behind me.
Okwenzekayo ke lana ukuthi lokho ke yila ufunga khona ke ukuthi manje konke lokho izifundo lezi noma degree ekudingayo noma ekufunayo usundlulile kona waphasa ke futhi ngiyakwazi ke ukuthi ke emuva konyaka nami ke sengingathi ke ngibhekeke noma ngisupervise ke omunye ongemuva kwami ngonyaka.
Have you encountered a situation where the police officers, you testify about prisoners that are brought to you, and you said in 2020 in June, have you encountered a situation where the police will confront you with the request of conducting a dental?
Remember in our year of studies, we are in Medunsa. Medunsa is one of the biggest oral health centers in Pretoria. So we used to always, there was a module that whereby anyone is supposed to at least have treated people that are from public, whether it's from prison and whatsoever. So we used to get maybe in a regular base, you used to see maybe I would say 2 or 3 prisoners maybe in a month. So they used to always come, and when they come, the protocol is they come to you and then they explain what the patient is complaining about, and then you continue communicating with the patient regarding that. So yes, I have in more than one occasion.
Ngihlangeneke ngaphambilini ke namaphoyisa ke noma ngikhulumana namaphoyisa uzokhumbula ukuthi besifunda khona eMedunsa yona ke enkulu khona ke ePretoria kuba khona ke imodule noma izifundo ke la khona ke kufanele uhlangane nabantu bangaphandle kulabo bantu ke bekuza futhi ke iziboshwa lezo ke bese ilethwa amaphoyisa likutshela iphoyisa ukuthi ke yini ke isiboshwa esikhala ngayo bese ke ukhulumisana nesiboshwa emuva kwalokho.
I put it to you now before I rest. I put it to you that on the day you conducted a general examination from accused number 2, you infringed upon his right to privacy, especially you breached the confidentiality of accused number 2 in relation to his medical status. What is the comment?
Now my question is, in which format? How did I do that? If this is, I'm saying if this is a form that's created by the state, which is the one that also everyone serves here, that we're supposed to question an individual who's coming to us and ask these questions, and we decide to ask them the way in which the form is decided, I'm basically saying it was me doing my job.
Uma uthi ke angizange kwenze kahle ke umsebenzi wami ke nokuthi futhi ke amalungelo akhe ke umsola ke noma umangalo lesibili ke ngazange ke ngenze ngokwendlela ngokuphathelene nawo ke usho kanjani ke ngoba konke ngakwenza ngokwalendlela ke ekubhalwe ngayo kuyona le form imibuzo engibuza yona imibuzo ekhona la ngenza umsebenzi wami.
Last question. You were asked by my colleague as to when you're conducting that examination, you said accused number 2, Pungantanzi, looked worried. What do you mean by that?
Worried meaning or the patient, the facial expression, the way in which they were. He looked kind of concerned. I wouldn't say maybe it's they are stressed or whatsoever, but they looked confused. Worried meaning they look confused. They looked like, I don't know whether they don't understand the setting or what was happening, but that's a normal perception of any dental patient that's there. I tell you, any adult will tell you here that the moment they enter any dental practitioner's office, they start wondering what's going to happen next.
Lana engangikusho ke ukuthi ke manje ngikhulume ngegama ke uWaret laphambilini ukuthi ke wayibukeka ke edidekile ke ungathi ke akazi ke ukuthi ke kwenzekani ke lana ungabuza noma umuphi ke kulaba abahlezi lana ke ukuthi ke noma umuphi ke umuntu omdala uma engena ke la ukuzothi kusetshenzwe khona noma ke akhishwe izinyo noma kwenzeke nike ila aqala khona ke ukuthi manje esengasazi ke ukuthi yini ezokwenzeka manje.
Say, on the form where it says complaint, main complaint, you see there? So it appears that it's written the patient requested. Can you read that for me, please?
It says the patient requested an examination for oral cavity.
What do you mean by that if you were approached by the police?
It means that I was informed what the patient is requiring to be done to them.
Lana ke engikufundayo ukuthi ke patient yase icela ke ukuthi ke kubhekwe noma kuhlolo ke la kuyena ke emlonyeni kusho ukuthi ke ilokhu engakutshela ukuthi yini leyo muntu ayizele.
So that is hearsay. You were not directly informed by accused number 2. You were informed.
I'm going to go back to protocol. We, as medical professions, is every single time whenever a prisoner, it's not the same as a normal individual. We are supposed to be protected by the people that come with the prisoner. So our interaction before we even go to the patient, with the patient being there, the policeman or the warden must be able to explain to us what we're supposed to do towards the patient, because that's for our safety. That's one of the things that's supposed to have been done there. Because if the prisoner comes in, the policeman goes outside, and then I engage with the patient there, we're not really sure what I'm actually the patient is there for. So we need briefing from the person who's bringing them. It's as if to us it's as if it's a guardian. The patient who's bringing them, why are they the patient there in the first place? So that's why we say the main complaint is that.
Lana ke masikhuluma ngesiboshwa ke ukuzothi ke ukhona ke umehluko phakathi ke nomuntu ke oyibuyela nje emphakathini ke noma oyibuyela ekhaya oyihambelayo, ngoba lana ke kufanele siholwe yilo noma yila isiboshwa ayisihamba nabo beyibona ke abasichazelayo ukuthi uze ngani lo muntu lana ngaphambilini kokuthi singapho noma ukuthi iphoyisa liphume kusushiya uyasala ke nesiboshwa sona kube uyisona esikutshelayo uqala kulabo abahamba naye.
All right, there's one thing that I wanted to clarify before I step down. When accused number 2 was brought to you, was he brought to you by the members of the correctional services or by the police wearing civilian clothes?
There were my recollection of the people at that day. There were men that were in uniform, brown uniform, of which from ever since we've been seeing prisoners, we know they come with that. They come with the prison orders, which identifies that. And there was another one who was not dressed in a brown uniform. So maybe I assume that could be the police corps in that state.
Ma ke efika ke wayihamba ke nalabo kuzothi basebenza ke ejele babegqoke ke uniform ebrown bese kuba namunyeke noma abanye ke babengaqhokile iuniform bona engayicabangelaka ukuthi ngaba amaphoyisa noma iphoyisa.
According to his version, those people were not from correctional services. They were Metro Police officers from SWAT. Just to put it clear that accused number 2 was not brought from prison, but from police station.
So, but not from my recollection, I remember someone dressed in brown. I don't know what was really happening in that point of view, whether it's correctional service. That's what I'm saying. From my knowledge, people dressed in brown are people from correctional services.
Angazi ukuthi ke babebuya ke ku Metro Police, mina ke ngazi ngabona nje abantu ababegqoke ubrown, ngoba ke mina ngokwazi kwami ke uma begqoke ubrown ilabo abasebenzela correctional service.
Thank you, Malot. I have no further questions.
Yes, Mr. Mnisi.
I've got one question, 2 questions now.
4.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Hlokwe. When you were still a student at Medical University of South Africa, was Professor Mokgokong still a Vice Chancellor and Rector there?
No.
Nkathi
At
ke-
the- at the-
sorry.
At the time, there was a time whereby he had to resign. In the middle, at the beginning, yes, he was.
Yes.
In the middle, he had to resign. And then from there was De Beer, who came in.
No,
and
don't
became-
worry about his successors. I just wanted to know whether at the time at which you studied there was he still a professor, as you just
Okay.
said, no?
wayengasiyena-ke uprofessor umupoko nkathi ke noma
He
ke
was for
uqalile
the,
wayewuyena,
first, I
kodwa
think,
wabeka
first year.
phansi.
Oh, okay, in your fledgling stages of your studies. Thank you. Comprehensive medical assessment. You still remember that word?
Yes.
Where did it come from?
It means a full.
No, I don't want you to give me a description or a definition of that word.
Oh,
Where
it means
did
a
that come from?
comprehensive,
Yes.
a fully clouded, a fully well done examination of an individual, given what you have in hand.
Uma ke kube ubhekwa lokho ke onakho ke noma ubhekene nako phambi kwakho ke uma kuthethwa ke ngayo ke i comprehensive examination kusho ukuthi ke wenze konke noma wabheka konke.
Thank you, Doc. Listen carefully. I'm asking you, in the course of your testimony, where did that word come from? Comprehensive medical assessment. If you so remember. Let me assist you. When the state was just about to close leading you, his examination in chief, he asked you whether, in terms of what you did, that was a comprehensive medical assessment, and then you said yes. So you remember?
That was not the question.
Yeah, I can tell you what the question was.
There's a deception where they do a preliminary assessment.
Community
and-
service, is it?
And he also does an examination.
Is that you're talking about, Mr. Munisi, community service?
No, my lord.
Oh, okay, fine.
As I understood the state, I think that was the anti-penultimate question
Okay.
to the witness, where he says, would you then regard what you did, I'm just paraphrasing the
Okay, yeah,
state,
fine.
would you regard what you did as a comprehensive medical assessment? And the doctor said yes. Probably the record can clarify us.
That's not what the witness said. The state asked him, he said there's a station at reception where they do a preliminary examination, and then the patient then comes to him, and the state then asks him, in light of the fact that was this preliminary examination, and he also did an examination, so it was a comprehensive examination. That was the question and answer.
My lord, I don't want to be unfair with the witness here. Otherwise, I'll be deviating from the oath that I take.